RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. It's the first of the month. It's July 1st, first day of the month, and we are connecting for a live stream. Looking forward to finding out what you guys have been keeping an eye on, as well as sharing with you some things that came across my radar today that's worth talking about. And so, apologize for being a little bit late, but I was behind the scenes trying to gather all the information to kind of put together the pieces of the puzzle to make my case for the incoming tax hike globally as they continue to try to make up for all the, let me see, as they say, all the tax revenue that people have avoided paying by basically changing the rules of the games. And so it looks like I got maybe possibly two stories worth touching on that will definitely, should definitely be of concern to you. So we're going to dive into that, as well as I'm going to open up the mic to hear whatever else you guys have on your mind. So feel free to chime in. A lot of subjects worth touching on. I want to try to get as many as possible and open up the phone lines so you guys can share your thoughts, because once again, it is the People's Talk Show. So looking forward to connecting with you. My name is Mike, the host of Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. And so for those that are tuning in, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. Just in the comment section, just put your name as well as your city or your state or your country, wherever you're representing, and I'll definitely acknowledge your presence. I want to thank you for being a part of the community. And then when the phone lines open, 313-462-0027 is the number that you can call to let your voice be heard. And so let me dive in and do a little maintenance on my side, and then I'll do some acknowledgments, and then we'll dive into some articles. I have about six or seven articles, 3 primary subject matters, and it all has to do with taxes and how, once again, whenever there's signs of trouble or the thought that people are going to profit off of this monetary reset, all they do is change the rules in the game, and it looks like they're going to do that right on schedule. So we're going to touch on that. And so let me just do some maintenance on my side here. And so for those that are new to the community, I want to make sure you guys know where to find out everything related to do with Rethinking a Dollar. And so rethinkingadollar.com is the home base. And so I have, some special reports there that gives you some nuggets. Also, we got the metals, of course. You guys know that. For those that are interested in supporting the channel, we got articles on crypto, gold, silver, you name it. It's all there. All the hot topics of the day. And then I repost all the RTD interviews there. And then, of course, I got my recommendations down below, stuff to keep an eye on. And then for those that might be new altogether, you can go down to the bottom and get a little bit of the overall blueprint of what Rethinking Dollar is about. And it has to do with basically helping people unplug from the matrix with 5 simple steps: awakening, awareness, analyzing, acting, and then assembling. And the very first one starts with the awakening period, testing your dollar IQ. It's 10 question quiz, real sweet and simple, but it gives you an idea to see where you stand as far as just some basic concepts about the dollar, aka the Federal Reserve note. So far, as I always mention, it's about 60%. It's a little bit above. So over the last couple of days or so, there's been a spike of people taking the test, or the quiz rather, and that's a good thing. So it's obviously a lot of people that are in tune. But the goal is to reach people who are asleep at the wheel still, just because they have no interest whatsoever in finding out the bigger picture. So feel free to take your test and then share with family and friends, keep them up to date. So, and then move forward if you find it worth your time. And then also, we had a chance to connect last night for RTD off air. Once again, great conversation. I wrote down a list of things, and a lot of stuff has to do with basically as much natural preparation as possible. And so basically this summer might be the last summer of relatively lower prices of all the essentials for today and for the future. So we wrote down a lot of ideas as to things that we can do to get our weight up. And so I'm putting together, actually beneath this video here, I'm putting together some of the preps that I've been focusing on of things I'm going to continue to buy more for myself and family. So just a little nugget there if you guys are interested. But that's a part of the Patreon gang. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, as well as being able to plug in off air and talk, rant, and do whatever you got to do, consider supporting the channel via Patreon. Link is below, and you can join us off air on Wednesday night. So that's a good way of connecting. And then for those that are new, I want to make sure, let me actually the best way to stay connected to Rethinking a Dollar is to probably do the email. So if you go to the email link below, see a social media tab, click on the link, you'll get notified. And then you guys can be notified every week. And then, of course, we got the Discord page. We got Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Every social media platform, social media tab beneath this video here, get you plugged in. And so, all right. So let me check in real quick with those that are taking time to spend with us this evening. I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody as best I can. And we'll keep it moving. We got Ingles para Trabajados Migrantes from Linton, from BC, Canada. Says 3 hours in Vancouver, set temperature record of 49.5. So 121 degrees Fahrenheit today. Said this Tuesday due to a 3-day heat dome. Next day, the small town was essentially wiped out by forest fire. Really? My man, I'm sorry to hear that. Assuming that's your neck of the woods. Sorry to hear that. Let me know how things are. Hopefully everything's safe in your region or whatever. Let us know. Appreciate you for sharing that. So yeah, the heat wave, I'm hearing all types of stuff. Haven't had a chance to follow the actual climate of things, but no doubt that's some serious stuff. And is it by accident or is it intentionally being done, given the fact that people who are in our alternative media realm, I've over the last several years talked about and did articles and videos on how there's technology out there that has been strategically used to create certain events throughout nations. And so is it an induced, is it a natural event, or is this one of those things that's intentionally been done? Some people might say it's a solar minimum, the sun flares and stuff like that. Could be. So we'll see. JBW join us. We got Jay Northrop. We got Tom. We got Dude Boy in the building. We got, Gene from FEMA Region 4 is present. We got Faith Parent. We got Keenan Haywood, FEMA region in Georgia. We got Lava Lords Universe, said Debt Zombies. We got Bean Baker. We got Mr. Nitty. We got Philman says, okay, Philman always starts off with a question. Let's see what we can do. It says, did you know the House just passed 2 blockchain headed to the Senate for vote? Philman, you're right on time. I got an article here to touch on that. Stay tuned. Okay, appreciate you for sharing that. We got Lennox in the building. Okay, a fair amount of people here. Ed is in the building. Let me see here. We got Inspector Jason. Okay, we got Manuel. We got Chris. Okay, a fair amount of people here. And as also, as we go throughout the chat, feel free to throw out a question at Rethinking a Dollar. It'll stand out, and I'll do my best to try to jump on it and try not to rant too much. So let me go ahead and jump right in. Philman says, I live in Santa Rosa. What fire? Okay, so a fair amount of people tuning in. Appreciate it. It says time to lock Donald Trump up, but we all know he's been lying on his tax return for years. Chris Smith, whether he's lying or not, he's a part of that club that they managed to always get away with things because they're all a part of that, the boys club. They all got their hands in on some things that us mere mortals are not able to actually be a part of because we haven't compromised our souls and sold out for the love of money more than likely. So those individuals protect themselves. So it is what it is. I don't expect anything to happen to Trump. He's a part of the show. He's an actor. Don't forget that. He's an actor. So he has a role to play in his reset as well, I believe. Okay, so enough of me rant. Let's get right into the nitty gritty. So I want to actually, let me see. So I got all types of articles. Let me grab the most important ones. Start off with some good ones here. Let me see. Let me get my articles together. I'm everywhere back here. And so I want to talk about, let's start off with this. So this is worth starting off. Okay, so let me get on this. Let me give you the visual aid first. I'm going to give you a visual aid that kind of lays a little bit of the foundation as to what I want to talk about, because this visual aid really got me started on this whole pathway of taxation and how it's already been talked about. But yet taxation, which is ultimately the globalist way of posing a natural austerity pathway of making it so that governments, as they deliberately destroy currencies by spending and debasing the currencies and running deficits and everything like that, they also have to come out with something and say, like, how do we fund that? And of course, they always start off by saying, let's tax the uber wealthy, let's tax the rich, let's tax big corporations. And so you can kind of read into their game plan when you hear and see articles about how Facebook's, Amazon, Google's, they're all okay with a 15% corporate tax. Why would anybody be okay with spending more in taxation unless there was loopholes around it to where they were not really paying taxes anyway? And whenever there's some type of new taxes being thrown out, it starts as a global selling point of trying to get the uber wealthy, but it always comes down to the bottom tier of the working class for the most part. And so this global taxation has opened up the floodgates, I believe, for a global tax, which will make it very hard eventually as it advances for capital flight when stuff really, really hits the fan. And so as of now, there is no global tax structure, but they're calling themselves reforming the global tax structure. And to my knowledge, every nation has been sovereign in their own way of doing business when it comes to taxing individuals as well as corporations in their borders. But now there's a new tax structure. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to explain to you why I believe that's, of course, it's a trick ultimately, because it's going to be one more additional tax that they try to pass on us, the working class. And of course, it's going to come back to hurt us, because they've already told us we'll own nothing and be happy with it. What better way to solidify that deal on their part other than making sure that people who are able to prosper doing this, they're going to change the tax games and make sure they get more out of you so that they'll achieve their goal of making sure you own nothing. So anyway, let me start off with this little tab here. So this is a little graphic that I saw on Twitter today. And when I saw this, just the mere colors caught my attention, because I'm thinking like, wow, this is, if this doesn't catch your attention and really have you question some things, then I'm not sure what would. But yet it says America's finances. And so I'm not sure the original source of this. I just, me, I see something, I use it, and I try to give them credit when due. But so just look at this visual aid here. Imagine this is Uncle Sam's finances, ultimately. And I'm going to try to give it a little example, and then I'm going to get into some articles to show how it's because of this that we're already officially bankrupt. Because when you have a much, much greater outstanding debt than you ever could have in income coming in to service that, it's ultimately you're already insolvent. Only reason we've been able to go this deep in the red is because we have the reserve currency. And that's the part that's being shifted right now as we speak. So just to give you an idea of what's going on here, this is the current financial accounts of our government. We got deficits, revenue, and debt. So basically just real sweet and simple. This is their balance sheet in a sense. And so we have 30 trillion of national debt, give or take. And of course, it gives you the presidents that added to that. We have George W. Bush, and during this time frame, we got Clinton starts here in this line in 1992. We got George W. Bush right here, started in 2000. We got Obama in 2008, and then we have Trump in 2016. And then we have this current COVID crisis, which really took it over the top. So this little bottom piece here, this is literally, 15 months? This is 15 months worth. And so all of this right here basically is the last 40 years worth of debt in a sense. And it's at 30 trillion now. But look at the government's revenue, what they've brought in based upon how they calculate income, student loans being paid back and whatever. But yeah, we see how that has took a major dip. At the same time, government spending has taken off. And of course, look at the deficit has also skyrocketed. So ultimately, if you looked at this as a normal person's, household financial statements, I wanted to use the example, say someone, an individual, a household had approximately $300 million. This is just a personal story. It's just a relatable story. The revenue was somebody was making, say, $30,000 a year type income coming in, and it took a hit this past year. And then they already had, say, $300 million worth of personal debt with a $30,000 income, and they were already taking out credit cards daily in the form of these deficits just to pay the interest, of which that's not even truly, payable. This is how bad things are, to where there's no way of ever creating enough revenue, or you can try to run deficits, but of course nations will not allow you to continue to do that. So eventually they're going to remove themselves off of your currency, to where the only thing that can be done to allow them to continue this deep negative red that we're in now is to basically increase taxes. And unfortunately, taxes, of course, only people who pay taxes is the working class. So that's who's going to get hurt the most. And I got some articles here that kind of, lays into that. So I just want to start off with that. And then, of course, chime in and email in the chat, and then we'll have some more to talk about. And so let me give you this next. So the reason I wanted to talk about that one was twofold. So today, as I started off talking about, 130 nations agree to support the U.S. proposal for a global minimum tax on corporations. And so once again, as I start off by saying, something's wrong when the big tech corporations, which are the global conglomerates that are pretty much stationed everywhere for the most part and do business online, those companies are more than happy and okay with being taxed 15% extra, and you got 130 nations doing it, which ultimately means that each nation where those companies do business in, they'll have to pay a little bit. They'll have to pay 15% supposedly on the revenue earned in those countries. But yet we've learned from last year with Amazon in particular, Amazon, they have a shielded company, basically using the loopholes in the tax structure to where they don't pay any taxes whatsoever as a company because they operate through some island down in the Caribbean or whatever. So that taxation don't really bother them because they don't pay taxes anyway, along with all the other companies. So why would they do this? My personal opinion is this is all just to lay the groundwork for globally taxing citizens all at one time in the very near future. And so as we're moving into this digital age more so, and everything's going to be digital, and it's going to be through central bank digital currencies in each region, when it's time to go globally and move throughout different borders at some point in the future, possibly, there's going to be no way of like you being actually able to remove yourself from the US and go to France and not also have a income tax here on your taxes, the way every US citizen, when you go abroad within some thresholds, you got to pay income taxes. But then you go to another country, that's going to be another additional tax on you as well, because this corporate will easily turn into a capital flight type tax for the average person who decides to up and move. And so a corporate global tax literally lays a framework for the globalist agenda of ultimately removing borders at some point and unifying all countries through the interoperability of their CBDCs at some point in the future, as well as establishing a global tax that starts off with corporations, but it's going to easily transfer into income as well as a couple other tax in the very near future. And this is all a part of the whole fourth industrial revolution process. So it's already baked in the cake. But once again, nobody's really, mentioning it from that particular angle there. And this plays into more of the idea that we're already overly taxed already. And tax in of itself, everybody, in this channel here knows that it's not constitutionally supported, but it's been something that they've been able to get by with for over 108 years now since the Federal Reserve came into fruition. And on a side note, I want to pull something up here. And so this is completely not off topic, but it's to do with taxation. But I found, I'm not too sure how many people actually saw the very first government tax form that was given to us, to our grandparents, more than likely, or their parents back in the day. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like. And so look how simple this form is. I'm gonna put this on the screen real quick, and then I'm gonna get to a couple more articles and stop ranting. So here's a picture of the original tax form. This was the very first tax form that came out in 1914, income tax 1040 that came out in 1914, a simple one pager. And at that time, it was a 1% tax, on amounts over $20,000, not exceeding $50,000. So $20,000 in 1914 was the probably one of the greatest jobs you can ever have. It was high middle class, whatever. You was a high professional making that type of funds per year. And so it was, if you were over that threshold, it was just 1%. And look at it, 108 years later, look at where we're at now, to where there's been so many additional taxes added on top of us that it doesn't make any sense. So when I thought about this global corporate tax, that's a global structure. It brought to mind the fact that just 108 years ago, we were officially introduced to the concept of income tax in and of itself when the central bank happened to come around. So I thought that I would just share my little 2 cents on that. And to go more into the need to continue to tax as the debt becomes unserviceable. The only way they're going to try to make it seem like they can continue to run deficits and expand the debt is by saying that they're going to have the uber wealthy and the big techs foot the bill, as if like that's going to work. We know that's not going to work, but ultimately it comes back to us. And then here's a video that was shared to me within. Let me cut this down. Within the community here. And I thought this was like, man, okay, so this is going to be that next tax that's going to eventually come. And this is a video out of Chicago. And it was from earlier this month. And it says how your property taxes can be impacted by government debt. And so this video here, 6 minutes news report, this young lady here who basically, this is in Cook County, Illinois, and I think that's the primary example because the state of Illinois is already running a massive deficit. They got pension issues. They got it's I'm hearing it's extremely bad in Chicago right now. And the reason I point out Chicago is because as the house valuations continue to skyrocket in this country, Chicago is also experiencing an increase in housing prices as well. But not too many people talk about the fact that as your property taxes, as your house value go up nominally in this housing bubble that we're experiencing, the property taxes also goes up because the house is valued as being worth more. And so a lot of people can't necessarily afford, income, people are being priced out of housing, period. But then for those who currently have their house, nice house, and they might have already been overstretched, living beyond their means due to the fact who wouldn't decide to get a more house than they can actually afford. But yet when times get tough, employment becomes an issue, cutbacks or whatever, the property taxes can become an issue as well. And they're having a lot of issues in Chicago, in particular because people are leaving and, because of the increased taxes. But this video here, I'm going to just play a little quick clip because she said something that sounded like this is what people need to hear. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Over the next 30 years, that 10,000 is going 12 to 13 to 15 to 20 to 25. It's going to keep going up. The greater the...
All right, so so she lays out, so I'll play this real quick. She lays out how they put together a website, and the website basically gives you the house value, the house values history, and also along with the taxation. She's saying in Chicago, the average house, median house, 300,000, whatever, that property taxes has increased more than 100 and something percent, or more than 130% within a short time frame because the government's broke. So as the government becomes more insolvent, they become cash strapped. The only thing they can do is find new ways to tax people. So we got the global tax, corporate tax coming for corporations, but eventually it's going to be rolled over to people. And then we got the property taxes, which depending on what city you're in, you might be good now, but I'd imagine at some point down the line, if the Federal Reserve doesn't continue to support states and buy bonds and do all the stuff they've been doing, there's going to be some cash-strapped states and cities and whatever, which is going to become more of a problem. Therefore, the debt problem is automatically passed down to you and I when it comes to taxation. And so I'm going to play for you this little clip here, then we move on, and then I'll get to some more stories. But this is just something I think is worth listening to.
Always looking for the books that targets dummies. So you kind of lost me a little bit. Are you saying that this amount that is debt by the municipality, for lack of a better word, owed to Uncle Sam, this is in perpetuity? So in other words, do we draw it down when we're making this payment? Part of our property tax payment is never going to go away? I'm a little
what's
confused.
The benefit of finding out this information?
The benefit of finding out is, let's say that you live in my apartment and the debt on this apartment is $200,000 and the taxes right now are $10,000. If the debt's $200,000 over the next 30 years, that $10,000 is going to 12 to 13 to 15 to 20 to 25. It's going to keep going up. The greater the debt, simple. The greater the debt, the higher the property taxes.
So you can decide whether you want to get out.
The higher the property taxes.
Do I sell this and get out?
In Chicago, whatever your property value is, and you can see that on Cook County Treasure.com, 41% of your property value is also debt. So you now have two credit cards. You have a mortgage and you've got this other government credit card that we are trying to get people to look at and trying to get electeds to look at and say, you know what, we need to look at a better way of funding schools because.
All right. So basically she's saying that your mortgage and your property taxes end up being a problem that a lot of people in this current moment might be able to sustain. But moving forward, I would imagine property taxes have to go up just because, once again, cash-strapped cities and states going to need funds, and who they going to get it from? This worker, the working class, for whoever's working at that time. So that's just something I wanted to share. Feel free to share your thoughts on that. And then another article worth touching on is this little article right here. And so it says U.S. deficit will total $3 trillion in fiscal 2021 budget panel says. And so once again, these numbers are nowhere near what the real numbers are, but these are the more appropriate numbers that be mainstream noted. But once again, deficit spending. And we are just, mind you, the narrative is that we're on the recovery. So Biden's out right now doing an American He's doing an America's Back tour, like America's Coming Back tour, but he's also in need of infrastructure plan, and that's just the fourth stimulus package in 12 months or 15 months, and we're just starting. Like literally, we're just starting all of this type of easing, and they can't continue to do stimulus after stimulus and QE after QE without finding a new way to try to make up for those that printing and debasement of currency without trying to make it look like the rich is going to pay for it, and also the working class. So this budget deficit is going to be a problem pretty soon. And then something else I want to touch on. Not only that, here's a little article. This is a little side note here, but it just talks about, we can skip that. I ain't going to go that route. And so just to talk about the income tax side of things. So we already know Biden's American Families Plan proposes income tax hikes. So that's still on the table as well. I'm not sure how far advanced it is. This was back in April, but we know that they're trying to make the people above 400,000 pay more. But of course, that's how they sell it. And then they'll also talk about nobody under 400,000 pay more taxes. Okay, sure. They're going to move that down like always because they got to build back better. So this is just another little income tax increases on the wealth. So once again, it starts off with the uber wealthy, but they don't pay taxes anyway. So that's another tax. We got global corporate tax. We got property tax was going to be issued. And of course, the income tax will become an issue as well. And then to move right along, I got some other, and of course, we know state pensions. Pensions are going to be the primary reason why a lot of states go belly up. And here's a little graph that I'll show that even though states were kind of bailed out with one of those last relief plans, we see here that there's still a lot of states. We got Michigan, Illinois, we got Kentucky, we got Pennsylvania, we got pretty much the New England area. And we got all these states here that definitely will need a little bit of support coming pretty soon. So that's something worth keeping in mind. And of course, how do states make up the funds to increase taxes? And then here's on another note, here's an article from Simon Black here. And this has to do with the whole crypto tax or the restructuring of the taxes when it comes to encryption. So it says, under this new law, cryptocurrency could become illegal. And so that has to do with the Senate Bill 4051, the Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act, which was quietly introduced last week when everyone's attention was consumed elsewhere. And I'll just thumb through this real quick. It says a lawful access to encrypted data act is led for short as move over China, the land of the free will lead the way in destroying the last whatever. So let me go to this next article here. And so there's now an even worse anti-encryption bill that that doesn't make the Earn It bill okay. So this has to do with Senator Graham and a lot of other anti-crypto individuals that are out there trying to literally make sure people don't prosper off of this transition. And so there's more information on that, but just this type of stuff here is signs of them changing the rules of the game. We can go deeper into that if you guys want, but I want to open up the floor and we can talk some more. So anyway, so just wanted to let you know that the higher the debt goes, only thing they can do and will do is try to make sure that we, the working class people, foot the bill somehow, some way. The uber wealthy will not. And right now we're at $28 trillion of known national debt, not to count all the unfunded liabilities. And so I hate when people say that we owe this debt to ourselves. Oh, really? How are we going to pay it back to ourselves? Like there's no sweat, there's no tears, there's no blood, there's no labor at this current moment. And for the next foreseeable several decades, that could ever be enough to create genuine growth to pay back these current debt structures. So only thing they will do is continue to debase by inflating and then tax us the difference. So anyway, that's me ranting a little bit, man. But I thought I'll lay out a couple arguments towards how the only thing they will look to do to make sure that they try to make it appear as if this whole debt situation is sustainable is by taxing the working class. And it's going to be disguised as taxing the uber wealthy. So let's talk. Phone lines are open. Let's see what we got here. Got a couple calls I've missed. All right, let's get it going. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? Can you hear me?
I'm doing good. I can hear you. Yes. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Troy from Dallas. I was calling in because I was listening to some of the congressional meetings today, and I think the title in one of them was something about fire, which is in response to the I forget what the full acronym means, but it's in response to something about investing and retiring early. the community of young people online that are like trying to save as much as possible and not, retire at the typical age. They want to retire by the time they're 30 or whatever and experience life. So they brought that up and named the committee hearing that as if that was some sort of an issue, as if, hey, whoa, we got to pump the brakes. We can't have a whole generation of people retiring early. That's not how the system is designed to work.
So let me. Okay, so you saw the FIRE movement.
Yeah, there was. I'm not sure. There was a hearing today. It was a financial committee hearing. I'm not sure which exactly what it was, but the title of the hearing was something FIRE. I think it was like financial industry fire or something like that. Okay. But it was in response to the FIRE movement. So basically the whole Wall Street bets, the young people making crazy profits on crypto. Yeah. So basically it was centered around the idea that you can't have a young generation of people with this crazy amount of gains early in life. You can't have as many young rich people out here. That's against the way the system works, and it's cause for discussion.
Yeah. So once again, and that's the thing. Like, so the more that people try to create options for themselves by either getting involved with tech early or taking advantage of the profits in crypto space or just finding different ways to play the same game that's been rigged against them, they then have to change the rules of the game. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think this Encryption Act is designed to literally hinder some of the growth and profit taken that a lot of the younger people are doing, because it's unregulated, as they'll say, and it's not safe and stuff like that. So this Encryption Act, more than likely, and as I mentioned earlier this year, expect some type of changing of the rules of the system when it comes to crypto. And I think this Encryption Act doesn't make it illegal or whatever, as was mentioned in our article. At some point down the line, they're going to create a whole separate category of taxation just for the digital asset space, because that whole segment of technology is new to us. You know what I'm saying? And it's unregulated and it's outside the system accordingly. So they're going to create a whole new way to tax that. And I think they're going to make it very harsh in comparison to the old financial system. So,
yeah, I definitely see that coming. And and you kind of see that on the way with this whole Bitcoin and the carbon tax. Yeah, I believe Bitcoin is going to go to 100,000. It's going to go up crazy numbers. But if you're going to get taxed, if you're going to get a special carbon tax on it because it was, mined or whatever, and they're going to charge, they may tax you 50 to 75% on a Bitcoin transaction. So, if you have crazy gains in it, you're going to get taxed to high hell on it. So, that's going to be the way that, especially with, the way the global monetary, battle or whatever is forming, it's like they're drawing a line in the sand. You got some countries that are going to, it's like the non-G7 countries are going to allow Bitcoin to become their national currency as much as they can, while all the G7 and all the whatever, they're already in talks with their, their little high-end blockchains and all their, companies that they're talking about, but being real kind of hush-hush about. So, it's like they're drawing a line in the sand between people who use the old proof of work system and Bitcoins and dirty carbon blockchains and everybody that's on the new quote-unquote carbon neutral. And you'll probably have some Bitcoins that are, like you've talked about in other shows, these are clean Bitcoins or Bitcoins that can be traced to where, okay, we minted these Bitcoins in America, or we minted them with, renewable technology, and they're going to have a different tag on them as they go through the market space.
Very true, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling and sharing your thoughts, my friend.
Hey, thanks for the show, man.
Appreciate you. Goodbye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good stuff, man. So let me actually put on the screen here. And so I didn't get a chance to see that, but he's referring to the America on Fire congressional crypto hearing focused on the market frenzy. And I'll just thumb through this real quick. Here's a little quote from a tweeter from somebody here. But this was today, and it looks like Representative Tom Emmer and another supporter, Warren Davison, says crypto is something you can bet on, but if people want to have the animal spirits to take risk, I prefer they invest in equity markets to support the building of American companies or the California lottery to support the schools in my state. So, I saw this the other day about they would rather you play the lottery where the chance of you winning is 1 in a trillion or 1 in a billion, or invest in the old financial products, i.e. the stock market, as opposed to take the risk and be rewarded as they debase the currency and profit off the crypto space. And so to prevent people from doing that, this is just how they're probably going to do more of the rigging of the system here. So interesting stuff, man. But are you surprised? Are you surprised? I would not be whatsoever. And here's one of the things I think that we're all going to be forced to have to really look into in the future is that the more we try to stay connected to this system as they are restructuring it, the more difficult they're going to make it to actually operate and function and prosper, because they want to make sure you own nothing and be happy with it. So what does that mean? I mean, between now and the time they try to complete that agenda, they're going to change the rules, tax us to death. They're going to try to basically, they're going to remove property rights at some point in the near future. They're going to basically censor the internet like never before, to where the people who are the least connected to this, to the old society, and the old society, I mean, the way things were prior to March of 2020, before the lockdown, because 2020 was a turning point. Society will never be the same again. We will never go back to normal. They've made that quite clear because of all this agendas that they're pushing. And then you factor in the most important, and this is just off topic real quick, but this is, to me, what I find to be the most interesting angles and most interesting subjects we should focus on, probably, in my opinion, is the mRNA technology, because that stuff is not going nowhere. And as I find and read more stories, I find out more information from it that's really good. I encourage you guys to join the Discord, because I post all the videos I find there, and it's something to educate you guys on, give you an alternative perspective. And then the CBDCs is the second one. FEMA is the third one. And the fourth one nobody talks about whatsoever is Operation Warp Speed. Those four are four of the most important subjects people should become more familiar with, because those four things are never going away, and they're going to impact the way we live our lives in the future. So those are the true things that I really spend the most time trying to dive into, because they're not going nowhere. Anyway, I'm rambling too much. Let's talk. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Hi there. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is HBP from FEMA District 5. High blood pressure. How
High blood
you
pressure.
doing?
I'm good, my man. How you doing? Give me a quick thought. What's in your mind?
Hey, I just wanted to talk about cryptos, actually, and I just wanted to let you know that I think that everybody, a lot of people, I should say, have bad vibe about cryptos, but they're part of our future, whether you like it or not.
Right.
And there's no reason to diss that or silver. I'm a big player in both parties, and I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. Hey, I do agree, and I'm like, use it all to your advantage, because they're all just tools. And the thing is, one of them has an historical case as a store of value. The other one is a speculative, perceived, and a intentionally driven future value of our lives, because it's not going nowhere, as you just mentioned. So use it to your advantage, man. Enjoy the best life you can now, because moving forward, because all these taxes that they're gonna be throwing at us, they're gonna definitely try to make sure they get their cut. So yeah. Finding ways to using the same loopholes that they have will be to your advantage. So that's something we should educate ourselves on, which is the tax system, and take advantage of it.
Completely agree. Just want people to keep an open mind. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Take advantage.
Hi, Mike. This is Ed. How you doing?
Ed, I'm doing good, my friend. What's in your mind? Give me a quick thought.
Praise the Lord Jesus, man. Hey, I'm confused with this whole tax thing. Okay, they get rid of. I know they got to put us in get us in a hole before they can steal all of our money.
Mm-hmm.
But where's the wealth? If you shut down all the small businesses, you got everybody unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where does the wealth come from? Where do they get this tax revenue? People have to produce a product, something of value, to have real money.
Yeah.
They're just passing out money.
Yeah.
So where does the wealth? I don't know where I'm missing it. Is it stored up in people's 401ks? It is in our property. Where's the wealth going to come from?
Well, first thing comes to my mind when you mention where the wealth coming from. Majority of the people who have benefited the most over the last year have been the people who own all the major corporations, all the high share, a good portion of their own shares in their companies, as well as all the people buying up everything that's real. Real estate, businesses, corporations, those are the true wealth vehicles. Now, all the things that come from that, i.e. from manufacturing as well as our time, labor, the service sector. Those things are what they're trying to literally, I think, they're trying to make sure that society is so crippled that it puts them in a position where they can control humanity. So outside of the whole vaccine push and the mandates for working now, because ultimately the end goal is to go automated, to go towards automation, robotics, and all that technology stuff, to where they have a outright servant class of society that'll be very small. We'll be all live in smart cities. We'll all be given stipends and whatever according to what, and do whatever we're supposed to do in accordance. So that's what I think their agenda is, because all the funds automatically go to them because they're closer to the water the water spigot. So as of right now, it's literally they're trying to remove the remaining assets from the people, because the wealth initially was in all the retirement accounts. That stuff's still trapped in there, and until all that stuff is transferred, the reset continues. In my opinion. So that's the idea. If you own nothing, you'd be happy with it. I mean, all those trillions locked up in mutual funds and stocks and everything else they already sold us will be transferred into their hands, and then game will be over, I think.
Okay, does that really play into? I mean, the wealth is there, but if they're destroying, the infrastructure of the company, the businesses and all that, they steal the wealth. I mean, there's a lot of wealth in property and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just seems like there's not enough production to keep that going. But I guess there's enough out there, they get everybody's savings and 401 and property. And if they want to get rid of the people, nobody's going to be working to pay taxes if they're robots. Robots pay taxes. I mean, they don't even have to pay them labor, right?
Right. And you know what, to mention about the robots, like we're seeing this alleged labor shortage. And so once again, they're lying to us on so many fronts. They're telling us that people, and all the graphs and stats may say that people are not going to work. There are a lot of hiring size, which I'm sure has some truth to it. But ultimately, I think a lot of this plays into the narrative that, people didn't want to work, so we had to go to robots. We had no choice to go to automation and do things in order to keep businesses going. And so I've seen more than enough videos. McDonald's have added more robots flipping burgers behind. They got more kiosks now where there's like maybe 1 or 2 people on shift. So that they wanted to do that already. What better way to really fully implement that by saying that there's a labor shortage? Because I'm sure that the unemployment and whatever else people are getting are not really able to maintain them in full effect, as opposed to going and getting a full check, even though it might be small. And so I'm thinking that labor shortage narrative is a lot to do with the fact they want to create that scare so that they can say we had to go robotic, we had to go automation just because we didn't have no workers. And of course, all the big corporations by next 2 years now, they're going to all have robots, and the jobs will not be there for people the way that they say they are there now. So I think a lot of this is a setup, I think.
The thing that makes the most sense to me, Mike, and I know you believe it too, the Satanists come to steal, kill, and destroy. So he don't really care about the wealth. If he can ruin our lives, take our souls, take our money, and put us in a trap, he don't really care what's left there, because he just wants our soul.
Right, exactly. That is the greatest commodity on the planet, my friend, the human soul. He just want to make sure you're never connected with your creator, and that's his ultimate agenda. He want to take as many people with him, I believe. So, hey, man, appreciate you calling.
And one other thing, real quick. Did you see that? Truck that got a commercial on one of the pizza chains are delivering pizzas to the curb to your house on a driverless car.
Yeah, I saw that. So watch this.
Is that really happening, or is that just fantasy?
I really believe so. I think Domino's it's the automated driver. They got the little robotic car or whatever. Yeah, so that's real. And then that's the thing. That's just one of a long list of companies, whether it be fast food restaurants or even Amazon at some point. Like Amazon, apparently, people are dropping like flies out of Amazon warehouses because the working conditions are poor. And of course, they already got robots in there. So how much easier would it be to have robots with arms, lift stuff, drop stuff, take stuff, to where you have a whole Amazon plant with nothing but robots at some point? But they can't just do that all of a sudden, because people will complain about, the jobs. They're taking our jobs. But that's why they ultimately want to do that. It saves them money. My only question is, we're a nation built on consumption. And if people are not working, people are not producing, the funds have to come from somewhere. And so I'm assuming the airdrops and the Fed coins is what they're going to rely upon for people to be spending. Because like right now in my area, Amazon warehouses are popping up everywhere. And I'm thinking like, what happens? What happened when the credit market freezes? People can't get access to their cash. Their debit cards don't work, or vice versa. Who gonna be buying Amazon? How? Unless you got the Amazon coin, just to connect it to the Fed coin, is because it's, what I'm saying, that type of crazy stuff. So, who's gonna be shopping heavily when they can't put food on their table? Would be my question.
Let's just be a supply shortage too, though. I mean, if we're not producing anything, eventually it's gonna be, all this money chasing the same goods. I mean, hyperinflation, but will there even be anything?
Right. What will you be able to find on the shelves? So, and that's the thing. I think at this current moment, I've already saw stories about, a lot of the smaller commercial banks, brick and mortar stores are closing. And then you have all these other intentional ways of squeezing in on the consumer, as well as just the middle class itself. So Biden preaches about we're trying to, build from the bottom out and not the top down or whatever. But the wealth is in the hands of the middle class and all those retirement accounts and in the home ownership. They're literally restructuring the American dream, turning into some type of other, world that benefits them and not us. So, yeah, man, once home ownership is gone, that's the fulfillment. You'll own nothing. I don't know. I'm not sure how you'd be happy with it, but that's what it's the stuff heading, man. So, hey, appreciate you calling, man.
Mike, I pray for you and your family.
Appreciate you, man.
I know you're doing a lot for the community and you're busy, and sometimes, you even seem a little hyper, but I know your faith is solid, and we're praying for you, brother, and we appreciate all your knowledge and your
support. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you. And definitely stick around for our prayer when we close this thing out, man. Join us in that one.
Oh, I'm always there, brother.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Good stuff, man. I appreciate the call. Appreciate the support. Good stuff, man. So, yeah, once again, we just talking, man. We just talking, going back and forth. And it's called RTD Live Talk, the People's Talk Show. And this is where you get a chance to call and get your voice heard. And when I rant less, I get more calls in. So let me start ranting and get more calls. Hello, caller. Which name are we calling from?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? This is Charles out of Atlanta.
Charles, how you doing, my man? Give me some good news.
I'm good. Yeah, check out a company called Ocado, OCADO, if you get a chance.
Okay.
They're out of the UK, and what their businesses, they go through and they manufacture automated warehouses for like Kroger's and whoever. And I've seen one of their warehouses, and like literally it's almost zero touch. There's no human interaction from now on when you order your groceries, and Kroger's is partnered with them. And Kroger's is a pretty big food chain in the South.
Okay, here go the article right here on the screen. So yeah, once again, we got a labor shortage. Oh, do we? Really? Let me put this up here. We do. Oh, we do. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, so, do we really have a labor shortage, or do we have a mainstream media propaganda story claiming that there's so many people not really in work? So here's an article. It says 3,000 robots working in Okada's automated warehouse for faster online groceries. So yeah, that's 3,000 or more jobs gone, and there's a labor shortage. So here's a picture here of just literally a warehouse with these robots, man. This is real talk. But think about this. This is what they wanted all along. Like, they told us that the goal was to go fully automated at some point. And what better way to do it other than the beginning of this reset? So yeah, appreciate you for bringing this to our attention, my friend.
No problem. Also, too, there's one more called Flippy. I'm sure you've seen that. Flippy is the fast food robot.
Flippy, I'm sure. Is it flipping the burgers?
Yeah, it's a company called Miso Robotics, MISO Robotics, and they make a product called Flippy. And I want to say Hardee's, and I know for a fact White Castle have signed a deal to exclusively have all these robots inside their food chains by 2024. So. Man, so yeah, so once again, here's the thing, like already, like who really eats fast? I mean, I'm assuming people people do obviously eat fast food because they're still open, but if it's being done by robots, it's up to us to stop supporting these restaurants. Like literally, problem is most people don't know this is going on. They don't know the ultimate agenda is to go fully automated to where there'll be no human contact whatsoever. But if people knew this and we stood up and stopped doing business with these companies now, they would have to turn or delay this by several years, if not cancel altogether. So, but yet, once again, we're a small community amongst, 7 billion people or 300 million in this country here. So
Yeah. Okay. I see what people. What is Cali Burger, White Castle? Yeah. So I got it on the screen right now.
Yes, they're building some partnerships with major fast food brands, and that's going to catch on quick.
Yeah, it will, and it's going to catch on a lot quicker given the fact we have a alleged labor shortage. So you better believe a lot of people put in some orders from these flippies right now. I'm sure. Man,
yeah,
man,
and
man.
they're thinking like $20,000-$30,000 a piece. So fast food restaurants can even the small mom and pop can finance one.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it readily available to finance one with no problem. So, hey, man, appreciate your calling, my friend.
Oh, no problem. Have a good night.
You too. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So, like, once again, the signs are everywhere. It's no conspiracy that they want your job. They're coming for your job. And even so, I remember Andrew Yang, who dropped out of the New York City mayoral race. He even said that, and there's another guy. I played this video a while back. A billionaire, like all these billionaires, they're funding all these tech companies, they're buying them up, funding them, and whatever. And they literally called off every industry that they're looking to replace humans in. And it was in jobs like the law area, all service jobs, all manufacturing, Uber drivers, car drivers, taxi. I mean, any sector where you're not directly working with the tech, or if you're not directly working with human beings. One thing they can't replace as of yet is actual human to human contact and compassion. A robot cannot give you, simulate compassion and actually that touch of just having a human interaction. That's one thing they can't mimic for now. So jobs to working directly with people will be something that they'll still need. So that's just something, a little tidbit to keep in mind for my people out there. All right, let me get into the chat a little bit. It says Mike, America's dead when they kill Julian Assange. They're eroding our First Amendment right in front of us. Yes, and then also in the Discord today, I put an article. And so if you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have. Biden is on his gun raid. They're trying to do some things for guns because as of right now, a lot of their deepest, darkest, dirtiest agenda, build back better, fourth industrial revolution, great reset, type of stuff is still on pause because we still have guns in our hands. And so Biden, of course, they're going to do more in the next. But in the next year, I mentioned this before Biden was in office. I said, even if Trump was in office still, to actually complete the agenda of taking us towards the one world government. And mind you, as I started off talking about earlier, the global corporate tax opens. That's like step one towards removing borders in the future, making it easier because they landed. So in that global tax form that 130 countries are going to sign, you better believe there's going to be some groundwork for future methods of making sure nations are either but all these nations merging together, they already give up their sovereignty, but yet they don't mind that because they are all 130 nations that just signed or going to sign. They've already signed on to the Build Back Better process for global World Economic Forum. So think about this. I thought about this earlier. Klaus Schwab is one individual. He's taken orders from probably 8, 10, 20 oligarchy families type of individuals. And all of our politicians, especially those on the left, far-leaning left, and even the bought and paid for right, mind you, both parties are guilty. They all take orders from special interest groups and corporations and all the military complex, pharmaceutical complex, all those corporations that pay the funds, they take orders from them. But then again, we all know what corporations we put up on the screen before. All the corporations that have partnered with the World Economic Forum to execute the Great Reset. So you see how politicians are bought off, special think tanks and groups and organizations, lobbyists, big corporations that write all the real rules and legislation and laws. You got the non-elected government bodies of Davos, Bilderberg, World Economic Forum up here, and then you got the people behind the scenes nobody know about, other than suspected names and families that are generational, hundreds of years old up top. And then on top of that, at the peak of that, the principalities and powers that oversee this. And that's the whole demonic spiritual element of what we're experiencing right now. So you see that hierarchy, and so-called people actually think politicians are actually working in the best interest of their people. Come on, man. But yeah, man. I'm just one person crying in the wilderness to be heard, so people can wake up. This is the last. So okay, I can go a little further. Let me share some thoughts since I'm on here. And anybody, anyway, feel free to just share some information. Prove me wrong. I'm open. I'm always open to learn. I don't know it all. I'm just sharing my little bit of wisdom, what's given to me. LB4, LB 2021. Appreciate that. San Jose, California, taxing gun owners. Right. LB4. Appreciate you for sharing that. And that's exactly what I was going to get at before I went down my little rant. So let me pull that up. And I got that in the chat. Let me see. I put that in the Discord. So for all my people that are tuning in right now, I encourage you to get connected with us in the Discord, because all these articles we touch on, myself or somebody in the community, we all share it earlier in the day. So when it's fresh, so you'll always be plugged in. But here's an article. San Jose to tax gun owners will confiscate firearms for non-compliance. And so if this passes, if this moves forward, it says fee for gun ownership in the city has not been determined. So as of now, it looks like it's moving forward. And do you think it's just going to stop in the city of San Jose? You answer that question. And I'm sure you know the answer to it. I ain't got to say nothing. But that's just one piece of legislation that starts off small, like the global tax minimum of 15% starts off small, but it never just ends right there. And so this is just more stuff. So back to my touch earlier, the goal is bit by bit, city by city, state by state, until they can federally do it nationally, is to make sure that we are the last country on the planet that probably do have more guns than law enforcement in some capacity. And of course, you got the crime, the criminals, cartels, whatever. They got their little, military weaponized stuff. But as of now, having the ability to speak freely right now, and then also having something to hold it down on the security front, are the last two things that was always a part of our country that we have now. Media's bought and paid for. Politicians are bought and paid for. And the system is rigged against us. So this is stuff that people don't dive into much further, because if they knew how bad it was, like Henry Ford mentioned, if people knew if people knew the monetary system, how the monetary system worked, there'll be a revolution in the morning type of thing. Like, if people really knew, you know what I'm saying? And if people, for those tuning in, I went through a whole little spiel earlier. If people really knew how bad this graph really is, that this is America's finances, and it's all denominated in Federal Reserve notes. So that's almost 30 trillion in the red that can never be paid off. The deficits have to continue. They have to go up, but they'll never be able to service anything to do with the red. That deficit literally is just to service the interest. And for those that may not know, let's just take a quick minute and look at what the current, let me find that page, what the current interest on the Federal Reserve debt is at this current moment. Let me pull this up here, because it's always good to be able to see. So the total, here we go, right here. Total, where was he at? No, right here. U.S. total interest paid, $3.9 trillion. That equates to about $15,000 per adult. Total U.S. debt, $85 trillion. And total personal debt, $21 trillion. So we got all this debt here, student loan debt, credit card debt, and it's all denominated in Federal Reserve notes. So as I've always said before, the Federal Reserve note will be your greatest financial liability, because the Federal Reserve note is the Federal Reserve Bank's liability, that they have to make sure they do the best they can to keep that going still, because if they do not, who in their right mind would really want to continue to hold on to something that has already been weaponized? And it's not going to be the way forever. Shaft-Driven Metal says, will this new global system resemble the EU, where they dictate monetary and fiscal policies to those who are in the EU? Oh man, Shaft. Great thought. Yeah, and I think the EU definitely has a head start on us because when they decided to join monetary forces with the, was it 19? Was how many nations is it? I think 19 nations or something like that, and basically disregard all their individual national debt issues and problems they had within each country's borders. They just said, skip that, remove your currencies, and we'll give you one single currency. And we'll call all the shots for everything to do within your country because we are the body of individuals that's not elected by anybody. How do you go from Mario Draghi to Christine Lagarde? You know what I'm saying? How they go amongst themselves, similar to how who would have actually voted to have Janet Yellen be the former first Fed chairwoman and then become the first female chair Treasury Secretary. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody would have really voted for that other than the fact they wanted their own in there to make sure this thing goes smoothly. So to answer your question, I do believe that's how this is going to go on a global scale. Now we'll see, you know, if that Eastern pushback as far as the Belt and Road Initiative is really against the Build Back Better World Initiative that Biden introduced 2 weeks ago at the G7 meeting. And we'll see how those initiatives play out, because if they collide, we're going to war. And of course, from that, whoever wins, which will probably favor the East, will enter a whole new paradigm being led by Asia. U.S. will be a country where it's going to say made in America again, but it's going to we're going to be in the reverse. We're going to be making minimum wage on everything. The credit market, which has been the lifeline for our entire country, because you can finance anything you want without ever having to put down payment. Now you can, I think, 7-year car payment, 8-year car payments. You can get a free cell phone. You can do anything you want now because of us having a reserve currency. But in that next paradigm, what do you have to do when you actually got to work? What do you have to do when you actually have to save? Like, you know, especially like second world, third world countries where they don't have access to go to the bank and get a mortgage. What do? You save, or you live in a shack, which a lot of people in second, third world countries do, but it's paid for though. So yeah, that type of stuff is coming. I believe it's in our future, man. And it's sad, but you know, it's long overdue. I think to this moment, this will be the last decade of the United States being the prosperous nation that we've been for the last more than 100 plus years, because our politicians have sold us out a long time ago, and now we're going to have to pay the piper, unfortunately, and it's going to fall back onto the unborn, because they're going to grow up in a world where they'll know nothing about any of the blessings and privileges we have now, in my opinion. All right, let me see here. I saw some things here. Let me check in real quick. Let me see. I saw a super chat. I thought, yeah, I did. The gentleman says, no more silver doctors. What happened? The gentleman. Yeah. So last year, due to the increase in censorship from this platform who owns all of this, they decided they cracked down heavily on the channel as Silver Doctors, as well as silverdoctors.com. And the owners decided to also, you know, out of more so being cautious and being concerned with, you know, their business model, they decided to dial back on the content creation. And when they did that, that was kind of like, you know, okay, you know, we need to split ways or whatever. And so it was a mutual, you know, parting of ways. They still affiliate of mine, so I still do business with them. But other than that, as far as the day-to-day with my man Paul, Half Dollar, still keep in contact with him. And other than that, but just because censorship, you know, they start cracking down. And ultimately, at some point, because, and this is where I'm on the back end on my side, conscientious of how, you know, the things I put together, how it will flow in the future, because the internet is a good way to run a business. But then also, when censorship kicks in, they play with the algorithms, stuff start happening. And then, based upon the article I shared on Monday, the U.S. has the right to pretty much go seize any domain they want, so they can pretty much take you off the air. So you got all that stuff there to consider. So I think that plays into more of that. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy with it. Like, literally, this is just a platform online. So it's not tangible in nature. Like, the rounds are real and the shirts are real. But other than that, this is a digital platform. So yeah, that's something I'm also conscious of as well. So that's kind of what's going on with that. But anyway, I'm rambling too much. Let's get ready to dial back. So everybody, I appreciate everybody for taking time to join me. If you have been hanging out thus far, if you've enjoyed the back and forth and the calls and the interaction in the chat, we got about 200 or so people on here right now. Here's an invitation for you guys. Beneath this video here is the social media tab. That social media tab takes you to all the other platforms where Rethinking the Dollar is located at. So I want to encourage you guys right now, or when we end, go over to rethinkingthedollar.com, go to that tab. I'll put it on the screen here so you guys can see. I want to encourage you guys, click the social media tab beneath here. You got all the places where you can find RTD. And then go join the Discord, because the Discord is where all these articles we talked about comes from, because people like you share them. So share that so we can get more and more news, get more people sharing their expertise in the Discord so we can stay connected. And then also on Telegram, go check in on Telegram. So if we are disconnected here, you'll always be able to find me over there as well. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. And then also for those that want to support the channel, I want to make sure you guys know that we still got the RTD Get Your Weight Up round available. And once again, it's a rare, scarce piece of art that definitely preserves purchasing power in the long run. But anyway, that being the case, people, let's get ready to close out. I appreciate everybody for taking time to join me. And I want to end on some good news, because right now there's more than enough bad news going on. But the ultimate good news is that Jesus Christ is Lord, and that for those that are in Christ, there is no condemnation, which means that through all this times of tribulation and issues in the flesh, we might have some trials and tests to deal with. But yet once we are no longer in this body, when we transcend to be with our Maker, that's when, as the Bible says, we will inherit the kingdom, which is what was promised to us. And from that, we enter a whole nother realm of life, the way things should have been, would have been prior to, Lucifer, aka Satan, deciding to go rogue. Basically, playing right into God's hands at the end of the day. But anyway, it's not been the case, people. Let's get a word of prayer. For those that are believers, I appreciate you for joining me during this segment. For those that are not believers, stick around, because once again, the word of God doesn't hurt anybody. It just gives you a chance to learn about somebody that can be very important to you now and especially in the future, because everybody believes something. I think it's always good to be able to truly dial into and hone into what you do believe and be able to defend it, because it's who you are ultimately. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's bow our head in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this evening. We lift up the name of Jesus Christ, the name that is above all names. Lord, we thank you for the blood that was shed for our sins, Father. We thank you that through our faith in your Son and the work he performed, we now are able to come before your throne with confidence and boldness in our time of need. And right now, Father, is one of those times, Father. We need you for wisdom. We need you for guidance. We need you for a better understanding of what you've positioned us here in this current day and age to accomplish, and what you desire for us to do to bring you glory, Father. Every person that's tuned in right now, Father, has a unique gift that will make room for them in this day and age, Father. And I ask that you open their eyes of their understanding, that they may see what it is that you put inside them, so that they can deliver it to the world and be that light that shines bright in this current day and age of darkness. There's darkness all around us, Father. You know what's going on. Nothing surprises you. And we thank you that through your wisdom, we stay one step ahead of the enemy. We give it all to you, Father, because you are the King that sits on the throne. And we thank you, Father, that you will allow us to be victorious in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, people. That is all she wrote. That is all she wrote. As always, man, it's good to hang out, connect. And tomorrow, noon, Mike and Mario is back on. And so we're going to have a good show as always. So I want to encourage you guys, join us at noon tomorrow. And I'm going to try, if we can, because me and Mario, we both, we love to rant. We're going to try to take some calls. So if you guys tune in, you definitely get a chance to ask some questions or share some thoughts directly and be a part of the show. But once again, looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Be blessed, be safe. And I will see you tomorrow at noon, Lord willing. Peace.